I hope you guys got to watch the video we just released on wintertime spinnerbait fishing. I caught some big fish. It was a lot of fun. Slow rolling that spinnerbait. May not get a lot of bites every day, but you can catch them like that. That's why I'm hooked on spinnerbait fishing. Driving home from shooting that, I got to thinking, what needs to be next? You really have to understand the spinnerbait before you become a really good spinnerbait fisherman. And even though it seems simple, it can be complex. And I hope that, you guys don't get intimidated when you go in to get a spinnerbait and there's all these different SKUs, all these different colors, because a lot of them work and they overlap under different conditions. So we're just going to break the bait down, from start to finish, color, blades, weight, trailers, all of that, and hopefully you understand it. If some of you guys are like me, you kind of got to put it in layman's terms. The spinnerbait is just a tool, okay? And a lot of these spinnerbaits work under a lot of different conditions, but there's usually that one spinnerbait, the right color, the right weight, the right blade combination that'll turn your day from a 10 fish day to a 30 fish day, or a 12-pound stringer to a 20-pound stringer, and that's what we all want, right? And it's kind of like this. I mean, here's a Phillips head screw, a flathead screwdriver. I can do what I need to do. I can get this screw tight with a flathead. Is it the perfect tool? No. I can take vice grips, tighten it up. Is it going to work? Yes. Is it the perfect tool? No. Am I the most efficient? No. Let's break the bait down. You have a wire. You have your blades, your beads, your swivel, your head, your skirt, and your hook. This is a Covert. All of these is within the Covert series. So they're all important. First thing that you need to know is when you're fishing the bait, it needs to be straight. Okay, your wire needs to be over your hook. Okay, and you need to have that angle there, less than a 45, it's probably 35 or 40 degrees. And you need to be checking that. Okay, and whenever I'm fishing, especially largemouth fishing, 90% of the time I'm gonna have a trailer. So the trailer becomes a component. So within the spinnerbait and the trailer, they all become one, and you have to understand each one of those to really know which tool is going to work the best for that day. First thing we're going to talk about color. We're going to talk about color of the skirt and color of the blades. Okay? Just like any other lure out there, you want to keep it simple. Okay? The clearer the water, the more lifelike you want your bait to look. Okay, if I'm gonna go and the water's 2-foot visibility and they can see it pretty good, I want it to look real, like a shad, a white, or even, the JC Special, like a transparent. I want it to look real. The clearer the water, I'm probably gonna lean towards willow leaf blades. All right, and the color of those, I want it to be real, your silvers. I don't want a red blade or an orange blade in the super, super clear water. But as far as colors, the dirtier it gets, the more color you want in there. Here's a really good example. These two spinnerbaits, okay? They're a lot the same. Actually, they're almost the same. This would be one that I would pick up in dirty water as far as the skirt. Chartreuse white and blue, probably my favorite color. This is chartreuse and blue. I would have these two rods laid on the deck. If it was sunny, I want some white and stuff in there. And under the cloudy conditions, I just like chartreuse and blue. It's just more color. I think they can pick it up in that dirtier water, the darker colors versus the lighter and the transparent colors. And all of this, the skirt color also carries over to the blade color. Notice this bait here. I got a red kicker. It's going to give me some red flash and a red head. This spinnerbait would probably be the dirtiest water, or, really dirty and cloudy, the darker conditions. When I say dark conditions, I don't just mean no light. I mean cloudy water, dirty water, you know, no sun, dark conditions, I want something that they can see, something that they can pick up. So whenever you're thinking about color, keep it simple, the more lifelike and clearer water, and start adding some colors as you get into that dirtier water. All right, we're going to talk about blades. This is probably, can be the most complex if you're watching, but really simple. Once you just, and it goes a lot with the skirt colors, you know. So here I have a Colorado blade. The Colorado blade is going to give you the most thump, okay? When I say thump, the most sound underneath the water. I'm going to throw the Colorado blade when the water's dirty, okay, period. Dirty and cold, if you know, in colder water you want to move the bait slower, so I'm going to pick the Colorado blade. Now, don't want to confuse you, but say the water's cold but really clear. You know, I want to move the bait faster, so I'm going to use willow leaf blades. I don't want them to get a super good look at it in the colder water, because this is going to be more lifelike. It's going to move a little bit faster. It has more of a shad profile. It's not going to be, you know, as intimidating to them seeing these blades as opposed to that. These two baits, when you fish them, have totally different feel. This one is going to make your rod tip just bounce. It's going to make your line bounce. It's easy to detect strikes throwing this blade. Willow leaf blades is different. It's more streamlined, you know, you don't feel that big thump. You still have a little bit of vibration there, but not as much. So these two are totally different, and they sound totally different underwater. So double willow leaf, tandem, Colorado willow. These are going to be different, okay? This one's going to have a little more pull and a little more lift because you added the Colorado blade in the front. You know, this bait, this is a really good, like clear water. It's going to move pretty quickly. All right. Single and double Colorados. When do I throw them in, you know, cold? We talked about cold, dirty water. Once those fish spawn and that water starts moving up, I don't need that thump, thump, thump like you're going to get in the Colorado. I need something that's going to move a little bit faster, but I'm fishing in shallower water. So I want something that's going to lift, and these two right here are going to do the job. It's going to move a little bit quicker. It's still going to give some vibration, but not as much as the single. So, you know, these three here is kind of the transition, thump, 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 kind of in between, and this one's going to move really, really fast. So say under 60 degrees, 60 to 75, 60 to 70 degree water temperature, and anything over that would be what I would pick to fish that. You know, whenever you're picking the blades, round blades for dirty water, anything in between, tandem Colorados, tandem willow Colorado, in that in-between water and something clear, you want to pick willow leaf blades. One of the cool things that we designed was the heat map on Lurenet.com for Covert spinnerbaits. It's a table that shows clear to murky water and gives you a water temperature of 40 to 80, and all you do is you pick the watercolor that you're fishing and the water temperature. Hit that set of blades where those two intersect, and you're going to see 3 spinnerbaits, a primary bait and 2 secondary. This really, really works, and every time that I look at it, it's the exact spinnerbait that I would throw. All right, next we're going to talk about weight. When I say weight, I mean head size. We make a 3/8, a half, a 3/4, and a 1 ounce, and I use all of those. Okay, if I'm fishing in this much water, which I do sometimes, you know, I may pick up a 3/8. That way, you know, I don't have to fight the bait. I can keep it up. There's not a lot of head weight to do that. All right. One thing that you need to think about though is adding a trailer. I want to take a 3/8 and a half. I prefer throwing a 1/2 ounce up shallow because, you know, it's windy. I can throw the bait. I can reel it a lot faster, and, you know, I bring it by a log or something. I can put a lot more. It's easier to put a lot of action into a bait if it's heavier than something that's light. You know, I can just do things and it's going to stay down in the water column. So what I'm going to do here is put a trailer on this 1/2 ounce. And I guarantee you we could go to the lake and these two baits are going to have about the same sink rate, 3/8 with no trailer and a 1/2 ounce with a trailer, just because of what the plastic is going to do to the bait. It's going to float the bait a little bit. It's going to make it a little bit slower. In that, you know, springtime, whenever you're covering a lot of water, I like the 1/2. You know, pre-spawn, even in the wintertime, you're going to see me throw a 3/4 or a 1 ounce a lot. And the reason being is I'm not going to be up there fishing that 2 or that 6 inches of water. You know, I'm going to be landing the bait in 2 to 3. I'm going to put a big trailer on there. It's got a lot of plastic, which is going to slow the bait down. And what it lets me do is it lets me fish that 2 to 3. And then once I get out there a little bit deeper, 6, 7, 8, I can just slow the bait down and let it go down. But what the trailer does, even though I'm throwing a 1 ounce bait, is it just slows everything down. If I didn't have a trailer, you know, I kill the bait or I slow it down, it's going to drop like a rock. And you have to remember, the water's cold. More than likely, if I'm throwing this spinnerbait, the water's probably going to be dirty. You know, in spinnerbait fishing, I want a big profile. So whenever you're picking the head weight, it's just kind of relative to the water depth that you're fishing. Obviously, the shallower, you can do lighter. And as you get out there deeper, then you want some bigger baits. Bigger head weights. So right here is 4 different trailers. Okay, these are probably the 4 that I use almost all of the time. Each one of these is going to do something different to a bait. If I want the bait to move faster, if I want the bait to sink faster, then I'm going to pick something that has very little plastic. Okay, that's really thin, it's long, there's not a lot of plastic there. If I want something, you know, if I want to throw a bigger head where I can cast it in the wind and really work the bait, but I want it to slow, I want it to be slow, I want to get something, you know, like a pulse there with a lot of plastic where it just counteracts the size of the head. It may sound a little bit confusing, but it's really not. Just think of it kind of like the blades. If I want to move the bait fast, you know, if the water's clear and it's warm and I feel like they're aggressive, something skinny. You know, if it's cold, then I want something that will slow the bait down and create a larger profile and really, really get those fish to bite. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. It can be confusing, but it's really not. Just keep it simple, and thanks for riding along.